All right, so what do you want to focus on right now, Chaim? You want to do Hinduism or Judaism? Because we're going to focus on religion stuff. We could do Christianity, sociology, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, African religion, like any type of what category of religion do you want to do? Probably Judaism, right? All right. So one example of the quadrant model for Judaism would be, it's called the documentary hypothesis, and this is what way scholars look at the Torah. They say that there were 4 sources that wrote the Torah. One was the J source, which is the Tetragrammaton source. One is the E source, the Elohist source. One is the P source, the priestly source. And the 4th one is the Deuteronomic source. So they think that 4 individuals wrote the Torah. Now, what I would say to that is, yeah, the existence is going to cater to everybody's viewpoints. So a scholar is going to be looking for evidence that it was made by multiple people or multiple sources, and they find, well, what is existence going to do? Existence will show him that, but it's going to show him and still reveal the quadrant pattern, because the quadrant is dominant and supreme in existence. So people with different perspectives are going to find what they want to see, but still there is a constant, and that's the quadrant. So existence is kind of playful like that. So the Old Testament contains 4 main sections: the Pentateuch, the prophets, the writings, and the latter prophets. Now, a lot of times Jews organize the Old Testament into 3 sections, but Christians will mainly do it into 4 sections. And again, that's that 3-4 dynamic. So in Ezekiel, remember the chariot that Ezekiel sees? He has a vision of a chariot. On it, there are 4 faces. One is the face of a man, one is a lion, one's an ox, and one's an eagle. Now, what's kind of fascinating about that is people.
Can you say those again, please?
So Ezekiel has a vision, like an epiphany of God. He sees a chariot in the sky, and on the chariot, he sees the vehicle. The chariot has 4 wheels, and it is driven by 4 creatures. The 4 creatures each have 4 faces and 4 wings.
Hold on. Can you start again from Ezekiel? Start again from Ezekiel, the vision that Ezekiel had, please.
So Ezekiel, he's probably wandering through the desert, and it's funny, right? And then he has a vision of a chariot, or maybe not a vision. Maybe he actually sees a chariot, or is there a difference? Maybe everything's a vision, but there's visions within visions. But he sees a chariot, and it has 4 wheels. It's driven by 4 creatures, and the 4 creatures each have 4 faces. And 4 wings. So when I think of that, ultimately, I think of the quadrant model, because it's a 4x4 matrix. What he basically saw is a 4x4 matrix of 4 creatures, each with 4 faces, making 16 in all, and that's a quadrant model. And that's like a lot of the ancient alien people, they're like, yeah, Ezekiel's vision, that's the proof of aliens visiting Earth and stuff. And now what I would say is, really what it is it's the, existence is a supernatural, paranormal revelation of the quadrant in all aspects and domains. And That's what Ezekiel recognized was the quadrant model pattern. Now, did he actually see that? The deepest aspect of his vision is the revealing or the epiphany of the quadrant, which is the foundation of existence. And astrologers, what's interesting is astrologers, they say that those four animals or the four creatures, the man, the lion, the ox, and the eagle, are representative of the four cardinal signs of the zodiac.
So which direction of the tribes when they journeyed in the tabernacle, each of the sides was led by a tribe,
right?
And which tribe corresponded to which of the animals?
Right. There was, I forget. I'd have to look that up, but I actually have that written out. Let me see if I can find it. The tabernacle or whatever it's called, or what was that called? I remember Balaam saw it. When Balaam looked at the Israelites, he looked at the Israelite camp, and it was in the form of a cross. Okay, here it is. Yeah, Balaam's view of the Israelite camp. And a lot of Christians look at this and they say, see, this is evidence of Jesus, but really it's evidence of the quadrant. And the quadrant is a form of existence. Now, Jesus happened to have been crucified on a quadrant, but does that make, that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, everything is Jesus. What everything is it's the quadrant. Now, there was a lot of figures were crucified throughout history. Like one example would be Ixion. Ixion was crucified in the sky after he challenged Zeus, and he tried to have sex with Zeus's wife, and he was crucified in the sky on a wheel with four spokes. So the story of Jesus being crucified wasn't really original. Those like cultures throughout the world had crucified heroes. But in Balaam's vision, he looked at the Israelite camp, and it was divided into four quadrants. And on one of the quadrants, one of the sides, it was Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. Now, I don't know what, okay, and that was the ox side. Yep, you're right. That was the ox. Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. The eagle side was Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. The lion side was Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And then Reuben, Simeon, and Gad were the man.
So the four, so Ephraim, the ox, was the north, Dan, the Nesher, the eagle. Yehuda, what was the tribe of Yehuda? What was that?
It says Yehuda was the lion.
The lion.
Yeah.
So Ephraim, the ox.
Yeah, Ephraim was the ox. Yeah.
Ephraim the ox. Dan the eagle. And what were the directions? And Ephraim was in the west or the east?
Looks like Ephraim was in the west.
So in the west, the setting of the sun is the ox.
Okay.
East is who's in the east? Who's
the east is Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun.
Yehuda, right? East, Yushalayim, leading the charge to Israel is the lion leading it. So the ox and the lion and the ox, east and west. East and west, lion and the ox. So north and south. So north is Dan or south is Dan?
North is Dan.
North is Dan. Dan is the eagle.
South is Reuben. Yeah. So Dan is the eagle. Reuben is the man. Ephraim is the ox, and Judah's a lion. They talk about like the lion of Judah. And again, like we were talking about animals, like the importance of animals, and it is kind of fascinating how prevalent like the animal imagery is in the Bible, and because they animals represent like distinct qualities. And we are talking about the elephant. I didn't really explain it that well, but I remembered afterwards. It's like the elephant has very big ears, and big ears are important because they listen to a lot of things, and that's what a wise person does. So like the Hindus, they worship Ganesha, who's an elephant, because he represents wisdom. He's the god of wisdom, and he has big ears, and someone who's wise listens a lot. And maybe an elephant has big ears and small eyes. Maybe he's not so concerned about the visual, but he sees beyond appearances, right? And a big nose, like he's constantly testing things out with his nose. He's exploring his environment with his nose or whatever. Like things about the elephant represent wisdom. And same thing with like these creatures. Each they have different qualities, and I guess that's the way that God set it up. And that's the way the quadrant model is, because God, I see it as one with the quadrant pattern. I think that's what God is a quadrant pattern. And the quadrant pattern, each of these animals represents distinct qualities within the quadrant matrix. Now, in astrology, these are four of the signs of the zodiac. The ox is Taurus, the man is Aquarius, the lion is Leo, and the eagle is actually Scorpio. Now, I listen to rabbis talk about this. The reason why they say that the eagle is Scorpio is they say that the scorpion can become an eagle. Like the scorpion and the eagle are one. Like somehow a scorpion transforms into an eagle. So, and I guess it's kind of interesting that Dan is the scorpion, because I know that people think that like Dan is associated with Satan for some reason. I don't really remember why. But, and then the ox would be Ephraim. And yeah, Aquarius is a water carrier. He's in Greek mythology, he's Ganymede. Ganymede was taken by Zeus to become his water bearer. It's kind of like a homosexual thing. And I heard that sometimes people would say that maybe like because he's Aquarius, maybe there can be like a connection with homosexuality and Aquarius if you look at your charts of the planets and stuff. And now the rabbis would describe that it is true. Astrology is accurate. Like where your planets are when you're born affects your life. Like your life is kind of shaped a lot around that, where your planets are at birth. But they say actually especially at your conception, but most people don't know when they were conceived, when the sperm hit the egg.
Which tribe are you from?
I'd be from my grandpa's was his last name was Cohen, so I would have been his ancestor would have been in the center. In that there was the sons of Gershon. In the center, there were four groups. The sons of Kohath, Moses / Aaron, the priest, and the sons of, and I can't read it. It's like M-E, Morai or something. But so I guess I would be a Levite from my mom's dad's a Levite, and then the other one would be a Judah, because every Jew I think is from Judah or Benjamin, because the northern tribes were lost. So that would be the ox or the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And the ox is Taurus. Taurus is connected to like, it's a very material planet, and Venus is like the ruler of Taurus, and Venus is Satan. So Venus is sex, and the bull, I guess the bull's a very physical animal. Lion is Leo. That's my rising sign is Leo, and Leos are very like they're performers. But I have a lot of like detrimental planets in my chart. Like a lot of things kind of screwy in my chart. But my rising sign is Leo, so I should be a performer. And Aquarius is like known to be eccentric and individualistic and like unique, and he likes new ideas. Aquarius is an air sign, even though you'd think because he's a water carrier, you'd think he'd be a water sign, but he's actually an air sign. And then there's the Scorpio, the eagle one. And Scorpio, I have a lot of planets in Scorpio. Like I have my Venus is in Scorpio, the moon's in Scorpio, Pluto's in Scorpio, and I think I have another planet in Scorpio, but I don't remember which one. But anyway, Scorpio is supposed to be scary because, and I've had like my Venus in Scorpio, my like love life has been scary, and that's the way they say it should be, because Venus is actually like, it's not happy in Scorpio. Venus is kind of in detriment in Scorpio. Venus likes to be in Libra, or with relationships, interpersonal relationships, or it likes to be in Taurus, which is like very physical and like material based and pleasure, like based around pleasure. If you think about Venus, it's all about pleasure. But Scorpio is about like secrets and finances and death. But it's also a little bit about sex too. But Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio. So I have Venus in Scorpio and I have the moon in Scorpio, and the moon's emotions. So I have very difficult emotional trauma. Do you know what time you were born, Chaim?
7:35.
Let me do your chart real quick. Do you mind if I do your chart?
Please.
Have you done it before?
In a cursory way.
So I'm just gonna do it really quick, but then we'll go back to the quadrant stuff. But I'll do it and I'll look over it and I'll tell you next time we talk. If you want, we can go over what I discovered from it. The horoscopes.
Okay.
All right. So you said 7 what?
7:35 a.m.
Yeah. And what was the date?
February
Mhm.
2nd, 1996.
Oh, so you're young, huh? All right. Birth city?
Manhattan.
Manhattan, USA, New York. At a cursory glance, let me see what you got. Okay, you're Aquarius, so that may Aquarius rising and Aquarius sun. You knew that?
No.
So Aquarius is like very unique in new ideas and stuff. So that makes sense. You're interested in quadrant model stuff. This is like you're the sun and rising. The sun is like that's your essence. You're gonna be Aquarius, you're gonna be eccentric, you're gonna be unique, and you're gonna like new ideas, you're gonna like innovations. And quadrant models and innovation is new ideas. So this makes sense that you kind of gravitated toward it. And then or that you're interested in it. And then also you have Mars in there, and Mars really likes it's all about action, so your action is going to be like toward the eccentric, toward stuff that's different. And you have Uranus in there, and Uranus likes to be in Aquarius. That's where it's magnified. So you're going to be like things are going to be working out good for you in that realm of the unique and of the different and of the, so we talked about that. But also I talked about Aquarius is Ganymede, and Ganymede was a homosexual, and Zeus took him. Now, maybe that can somehow be related to kidnapping and homosexuality, but not always. Like that's not always the case. But you seem to have good planets in there. Now, you have Neptune in Capricorn. So Neptune's like dreaminess. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your 12th house. That can indicate like drug use, because the 12th house is related to drugs and also prison and stuff. And you have Neptune in there. Neptune is also related to like drugs and stuff, but so I'm trying to think if Neptune's in Capricorn. So that could indicate some drug related stuff, but in connection to work. Mercury's in Capricorn, so maybe your work will be Mercury is a lot about like verbal art, being able to speak well, and also a little bit of travel. So speaking might be connected to your work, which is Capricorn. Capricorn's connected to work, but it's also your 12th house. 12th house is kind of imprisonment. So I'm not really sure exactly. I have to like read the stuff on the chart, but then what it says, because they give like explanations, but then you also have Jupiter in there. So Jupiter's good. Jupiter in Capricorn, so that's gonna like magnify your work. It's like Jupiter's an optimistic and a beneficent planet. It's a good planet. You have Pluto in Sagittarius. That's in your 11th house. That could represent a lot of intense philosophy. Sagittarius is connected to philosophy and religion. So I would say if you're connected with Chabad, I would definitely see that Pluto and Sagittarius, because that's like intense. Chabad is intense, and it's also different, and Pluto's different, and Sagittarius is different. It's like it's religious fanaticism a lot of the time is Sagittarius connected to, and then you have Pluto in there, so that could magnify fanaticism if you're involved with the Chabad stuff. But Chabad is good. I mean, he has a lot of good ideas and everything, but religion philosophy is going to be intense in your life. And then you have the moon in Cancer. You doing some meditation, or how you feel? You doing all right, man? You good? All right, so then you have the moon in Cancer. Moon likes being in Cancer. That could indicate a positive family life. Like I don't have good, like my 4th house has a lot of negative planets in it, and your Cancer is connected to you're not, this isn't your 4th house, but this is Cancer, and Cancer is connected to your home, and you have the moon in there, and moon likes being in Cancer. It's dignified in Cancer. So that could indicate good family. But you also have Lilith in there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is your 6th house. So it could indicate good family and good health, because the 6th house is connected to your health. And then your 2nd house, you have Pisces, and you have Mercury in Pisces. So that means that actually not Mercury, Venus in Pisces. So Venus is sex, and Pisces is like drugs and imprisonment. Venus likes being in Pisces though, so that should actually be beneficial. And you have Saturn there though. You have Saturn conjunct with Venus. So we'll go over the rest. We can go over the rest. We'll go over all the like angles and stuff. But yeah, that's basically your chart. All right, let's see here. All right, so there's 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The 22nd letter is a Tav. The Tav is a fourfold, because originally the Tav was written as a T, as a lowercase t, so it makes a quadrant. And there's a lot of like gematria type of stuff connected to the quadrant model. A lot of important aspects with the Tav, and like one example would be in the book of Esther, the tetragrammaton is written 4 times in acronyms. Is it acronyms? What was it called when there's like spaces of letters? Like every 50th letter, there's a yod, then a hey, and then a vav, and then a final hey. And that's like every 50 letters, and that's hidden in the book of Esther 4 times. Now people would say like rabbis see this as significant because they say that when the Messiah comes, they say that it's going to be like the book of Esther, because it doesn't seem like the tetragrammaton is here, but they're going to say, but the Messiah is going to reveal that the tetragrammaton is here everywhere, like in the book of Esther. Now, I'm not saying that that's what I've done, but I think that is what I've done. Now, whether that makes me that, I don't know. And I'm not going to ever say because it's not important, but that's what I think I have done is I've shown the tetragrammaton is everywhere and everything. So it's in acronyms 4 times. In the
what is the so there's this division between the yud and the k and the vav and the k. It's a firm division, right? There's a border, a very, very strong border between these different realms. So what happened? What is it exactly? How does that work?
So the way I look at it is Heidegger said that being itself is a chiasm. In order for there to be a being, there has to be differentiation, there has to be gradation. But also, the way that our existence is there's gradation and there's oneness. Now, the gradation is the yod, the hey, the vav, and the hey. There's the different aspects. But everything is connected by the yod, the hey, the vav, and the hey in a unity. So every different aspect you're going to be looking at, you're going to find different things, but somehow they're going to be encompassed and engulfed and
Yahoo
bringing out the quadrant. Yes, or the quadrant pattern. Yeah. Like Matis Yahoo, I think even that name is Matis means I think gift, and Yahoo is tetragrammaton, gift of the tetragrammaton. And you know the search engine Yahoo, it comes from the tetragrammaton. That's because the person who made the search engine Yahoo, he got the word Yahoo from a book. I forget the name of the book, but in the book there were these monsters called Yahoos, and the guy must have been a little bit anti-religious because he saw the tetragrammaton as evil, and so he made the monsters in the book called Yahoos. It's kind of a Gnostic ideology I think he had, but it's interesting. I forget the name of the book. I have to, okay, let me look it up really quick. But it's called like Gilliger's Travels or something. Let me look it up. Gilliger's Travels or Gulliver's Travels. Let me see. But anyways, and then Yahoo, the search engine, was named. Okay, Gulliver's Travels was named after those Yahoos in the book. But the guy who made the Gulliver's Travels was referring to the tetragrammaton. Now, it's kind of fast, huh?
Physical touch is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the physical is a third quadrant. Now, what's interesting is like just one example of a quadrant model is or a quadrant model is there's 4 main cults in Christianity. One is Christian Science. Now, Christian Science says there is nothing physical. They say everything is mental. Now, the second main cult, there's a book called The 4 Main Cults of Christianity. The second main cult is the Seventh-day Adventists. Now, Seventh-day Adventists are all into like following the Sabbath. Now, the thing about them, so that's the second quadrant. The first quadrant is always mental. The second quadrant is about order and homeostasis. So they're very into like following the law. So they're the second quadrant. Third quadrant is the J witnesses. I don't say the J. I don't say I try not to say the name, but the tetragrammaton witnesses. And the thing about them is, yeah. So the thing about them is they believe that everything is physical. Like they don't believe, they're like the opposite of the Christian Scientists. They think that God is like, you know how it says in the New Testament, like God is spirit. And I think it might say that in the quote unquote Old Testament too. But according to the J witnesses, they say, no, God is like is a physical person. Like they think that the tetragrammaton is like a physical angel, very powerful angel. And he has a body and he's fighting Satan. And there's actually a literal war going on in heaven right now. And actually, but they say that the tetragrammaton already won the war. Huh? And like they believe that the apocalypse has already occurred, but for some reason, like it gets complicated because the guy, their founder, like he predicted the apocalypse would happen in like 1944, and then nothing happened. But he said no, it actually did happen, but we just don't see it yet. So that's the third main cult. And then there's a fourth one, the Mormonism. And the fourth is always like very transcendent, and Mormon's like really weird, right? Now people would say like, well, which one is true? Which one is true? Like one of them has to be true. No, not one of them has to be true. What is true is the quadrant is revealed in their four different manifestations. And they have to exist only insofar as they are somehow within the quadrant matrix portraying a quadrant. And that's what they do. And even within their religions, there's a lot of quadrant stuff. That's the way I see it. So then it's another example of a quadrant would be in the Sefer Yetzirah. They talk about there's a cube that they illustrate in the Sefer Yetzirah, and they unfold the cube, and the cube makes a cross. But they don't like explicitly talk about it being a cross, but there's an unfolded cube in it that they relate to the tree of life. So it's kind of like almost like they're saying the tree of life is a cross. And that's in a Jewish book. Even one of the Jewish, like, I don't know if it was a Sefer Yetzirah, but one of them has a depiction of a swastika in it. Now, this was way before Hitler that this was made, right? But they connect the swastika to the Aleph, and it talks about how this is like a very powerful symbol, this X. So when people say like, oh, the swastika or the quadrant is like a negative symbol, or even like if it's a Christian symbol, it's not necessarily, but of course you don't worship that. You just recognize that it only is pointing to the quadrant pattern, to the tetragrammaton, to the Yod, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, which is everything. This one pattern. And it goes beyond, like, I don't like to narrow my mind and be like, oh, it has to be like the Jewish perspective is right. I see even just the Jewish perspective is only occurs in that it is somehow connected to the quadrant pattern, which I think is the ultimate.
Mhm.
There was a mystic named Itzhak Bentov who was Jewish, a Jewish mystic, and he wrote a book where he said that the Aleph is God. Now, if you look at the Aleph, the gematria of the different, there's a Yod within it, 2 Yods and a Vav, 10 plus 10 plus the Vav 6, 26, which is the gematria of the tetragrammaton. So he said that the Aleph is God. And he said that creation is God as well. So it was kind of like complex the way that he was like a mystic. So he was like, the Aleph is God and creation is God. And so everything is the Aleph. And he even explicitly said the Aleph is a swastika. This was before Hitler that he said this. Now, so again, we want to kind of like destigmatize that whole, of course the swastika was revealed in Germany with Hitler, but the thing is, the swastika is, or the quadrant pattern is revealed everywhere, always. Like the Native Americans had it, we're seeing that the Jews recognize the swastika as a powerful symbol. It's just a fourfold symbol. There was a Jewish mystic named Cardozo, and he had a lot of like, he had a kind of